Everybody, my name is Patrick Curtis, CEO and founder of Wall Street Oasis. Today we have an awesome story coming to you from Julie Wang, who she was a Temple MBA, and she ended up actually transitioning after many, many years post-MBA after she had done FP&A, Big Four consulting. 7 years later, she was able to break into IB associate role at Morgan Stanley. Just an incredible story. She was the only hire for the class that didn't come from an MBA, directly from an MBA program. So we're very proud about this one. I think it's really inspiring to all the other potential applicants that also have maybe been or past their masters or kind of past undergrad and not really sure has that window passed. I think Julie's story is a great one to remind you that if you keep going and keep improving yourself, that you actually can break in well past when you thought the window was closed. Enjoy. All right, Julie, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today. You're in New York, correct? In your house?
Yes.
And you just started at Morgan Stanley's IB rotational program? Sorry, a few weeks ago. So very exciting for you. I'd love for you to give the listeners just a short summary bio of kind of like where you came from. And then, yeah, we'll dive in from there.
Okay, happy to. I came from a rather non-traditional background in terms of how I went into IB. So I started my undergrad back in China, liberal art major. And after that, I came to the States for my MBA. It's a non-target school. I studied in finance. And after that, I worked for 6-7 years-ish in FP&A with 3 different companies. They're all retail and consumer goods space. And after that, I pivoted to Big Four consulting. I was there for 3 years. And at the meantime, I also served in US Navy Reserve. And up to this point, I finally figured it out what my passion and interest, strength, everything lie in. And I wanted to get into investment banking. And I found Wall Street Oasis and I did the program. And of course, with my own hard work and WSO's guidance, I got in with Morgan Stanley.
It's great. It's super exciting. And now this program specifically, this rotational program that you're in, is it similar to the other MBA associate programs that they're hiring at a business school? Is it the same group?
Yeah. Once I got in, I just knew like how narrow path it is, how competitive it is. So our class, in this training class, we have about 250 people. We are IBD and global capital market all together. Yep. So there are about 35-ish are associate, and we're in this rotational pool. In this 35-ish people, I'm the only lateral hire. Everybody else is straight from MBA, and almost 90%.
Amazing.
5% of the people in this class, including analysts and associate, are straight from school.
That's amazing. That's super exciting. Okay, so let's go back a little bit further because, when you came, when did you kind of come to did you come to school at the States for the MBA or because you went to undergrad, you said in China. When did you come over to the States? When did you know you wanted to start a career here? Because you've been obviously working here for a while now.
I didn't do much searching or thinking. It's just a coincidence. I got Temple's invitation rather late in the MBA cycle, and I just tried to apply in almost May, and I got in, and I came here in July. 2013. Yeah.
So it was fast. And you said, I just want to get a master's and I want to,
because I just want to come to the States.
You had a BA in journalism, so completely different, liberal arts. And so you were trying to make that transition. You wanted that finance background and try.
Yes. Yeah. I really didn't know much back then. I just want to come to the States and study business. And back then I didn't even know about consulting, FP&A or banking, nothing.
Did you have a citizenship in the US or were you coming over?
No, I got my citizenship from Navy.
In the Navy. That's great. Okay. So you came over with the MBA, and what years was that?
2013.
13. Okay. Yeah. So you were working for a while. You came out, and what was the first job right out of the MBA? The FP&A?
Toys R Us.
Toys R Us. Okay, cool. And then from there, why did you move? You just felt like, okay, I'm not learning enough. When was like that decision?
I was with 𝗀𝘀𝗴𝘆 for a little bit less than 2 years. They filed a bankruptcy in 2017, and my role was impacted. So naturally, I left. And then next to that, I went to a small company, very different. I had to do a lot more, even though it's a smaller company, wearing more different hats. So it was very interesting. But I only stayed there for a year because it was in Central Jersey. I want to be closer to New York City or in New York. And then just this opportunity came up. I went to my third company, which is Japan Tobacco International. They gave me a title bump. I was a manager in FP&A. It was also a relatively smaller company, but I was in charge of all the three statements, budgeting, analysis.
$300 million P&L, not bad to be the manager for that. That's a big deal.
Yeah, thanks.
So you were kind of directly reporting to the CFO, helping do all the budget, all the books and all that stuff, like manage the budgeting and all that stuff. Did you feel like you were growing like through those first few years out of MBA? Like you were still learning because you didn't have the background in finance, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I would say even at JTI, the first year, the learning curve was steep. I didn't work with cash flow or balance sheet as much before. It's mostly just in P&L. So I feel I became a more well-rounded finance person at JTI. But like after 2 years-ish, I just feel like my growth vertically is limited, and that's how I wanted to pivot to consulting.
That's interesting. Okay, so you're thinking, why consulting? Do you have friends saying, hey, you should go Big Four and it's going to give you more experience on transactions? Was that the thought process?
Yeah, mostly it's just because I want to be client facing. I face the same people every day for 3 years, and it's just like, I'm basically doing the similar thing quarter after quarter, year over year. And consulting is just more interesting. You can work on different projects, see different clients, and that's what attracted me.
And you were with KPMG for a while, for 3 years. So like, when did you start? Like you started that during the pandemic.
2021, yes.
Yeah, and then so I see you worked on some really interesting projects with them, and then. When were you thinking like, oh, investment banking is what I want to do? Like, when did that come into the picture? Was it right when you joined? Was it something that was a long-term vision of yours, or was it something that like just came up later?
I'll just be real with you.
Yeah.
Of course, when I joined, I wanted to have a long career there. I was thinking I want to go up and see how I like it.
Yeah.
And I think it started to hit me after maybe the first year.
Yeah.
It's just I didn't feel supported when I couldn't get promoted after a year.
Yeah.
And also I felt a bit of resistance in terms of just the openness for me taking time off to do my CFA. And also the realization that this group of work I was at KPMG is very process driven. It's very technology-centric, process-driven. It's even less finance, even less analytical than my previous FP&A job.
So you're moving away from the finance, which is what you wanted. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's still interesting transactions, interesting engagements, but it was still not necessarily closer to finance like you wanted.
Correct. Yeah, I was lucky that I worked.
But then did you know about even what investment banking was back then, like when you started?
Not much.
You kind of heard of it or what?
I think two reasons, real reason. One is I worked with the strategy team. It's like completely, I was out of my group, which is called Finance Transformation. I went into the deal advisory group, worked on a project there. So I saw how a divestiture, a deal work is, and it's much fast pacing. It's way more demanding, and it's just interesting, more challenging. And secondly is I just knew someone at KPMG. He was a director at FDD, and he transitioned into banking, and I felt like, oh wow, maybe I can do that too.
Okay, so you kind of saw somebody senior to you. Was he a mentor to you at all? Was he kind of talking to you specifically about
yes.
You had some conversations. So that's great. So you had somebody kind of paving the way ahead, saying like, hey, you can do this. And so it started kind of maybe in 2022, 23, you started thinking maybe a little bit about it.
Correct.
And then so did you try applying to investment banking roles? Did you think I have no shot? Because you had been out of school now or out of your MBA for 6-ish years almost.
Yeah.
7 years. So what was your thought process in terms of how you were going to go about trying to get opportunities?
I really didn't know how to start. And I was just procrastinating. And I started to know.
That's very honest of you to admit that you're
I'm a very
procrastinating.
honest person. Well, yeah, I was like really poured my heart into getting my CFA done. And in 2022, I was doing CFA level 2. And 23, I did CFA level 3 for the first time, didn't pass, and just passed it at the beginning of 24. I was just thinking mentally, I just couldn't do both CFA and looking for banking jobs. I was thinking, let me just get the CFA done, and then I will do the banking thing.
So at the time, did you realize the CFA wasn't that important for the banking? You knew that already, but you you started it, you were going to finish it.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the CFA level 3, you pass, you're like, finally, I'm done. You come up, is that when you kind of came across 𝗬𝘃 Academy, or what happened kind of then?
I signed up in November 2023. I was still in the midst of studying for CFA, but I also just don't want to study. Okay, you get so much degree and so what, right? I really want to do what I want to do. So I just couldn't wait. I signed up for it. I deferred. I said, okay, I'll start when I finish the level 3, which is March 2024.
Got it. Okay, so March comes around, you pass.
I knew I passed in April.
In April, okay.
I just started anyway.
You started, okay. And then talk to me a little bit about like your process with us and where you felt like you had the most help. Like, so just starting out, obviously the resume review, and profile audit, we did all of that. I'd love to hear it. We can start there, I guess.
Tremendous help to sum up. I like the structure of it. I really want to highlight just putting my resume in the banking format and to highlight what banking industry want to see versus what does not matter that much, just to do the selection of the bullet points of my resume and how to tailor my LinkedIn. Most importantly, just how to craft my story. I think that's the most important thing. Because before when I talk to people before I say, okay, why I want to do banking, I don't know what to say. I'll say wrong things such as, well, I think I like Excel more than PowerPoint. No, that's not right. Right?
Yeah, they're in both. You have to do both.
Exactly. Yeah, I just didn't know nothing. And I feel like working with all these mentors, it helped me tremendously.
That's great. Yeah. And so you kind of did the resume review, LinkedIn profile audit, and then talk to me a little bit about your networking. Did you feel like that opened up some doors? Because obviously as the only hire that was more like lateral and not from an MBA program, how did you get into that process? Was it through talking to some people, or how did that even work?
I think everybody's experience is different, right? For some people, maybe their opportunity worked out from referral. But for me, I just applied for Morgan Stanley, cold apply, just on LinkedIn, that's it. But I still feel networking helped me tremendously. I reached out to probably 100 to 200 people. I was just doing the advanced search on LinkedIn and just cold message them. About 5 to 10% of them replied to me. I ended up talking with about 40 people.
Amazing.
And I think, some of them are just so nice. They talk to me for an hour, it's like their whole
They're giving
journey,
you tips.
Their whole journey of how they transition and what does M&A mean? What do people do at analyst, associate, VP level, all of that. It's like everybody giving me a mini course. And I take notes, I listen to it. And when I was doing my interview, I can use a lot of the content they told me. It's just very helpful. I feel like even for me, like none of the referrals worked out. I still gained so much knowledge. And just from talking with people, like every time I'm tell people about myself, right? So it's almost like a mini interview.
You're getting better. You're getting better. You're becoming a better conversationalist. It's actually shocking sometimes from the first time students come in till the end, how much of a better conversationalist they are.
Yes.
Like every time I do these calls, everyone's like, so like blah, 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 because they've already talked to 100 people or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so they're very
reps really help.
They're confident about their story. They've told it so many times. So it's great. Talk to me a little bit about like the mock interviews you did. So once you knew you were in the process, did you get your report cards, and did you like do stuff like that in terms of, different types of mentors? So you got different styles of interview. Did you leverage that? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I recall I did maybe 4 mock interviews.
Yeah.
I think it's very helpful. It's like this most important story is tell me about yourself. Why investment banking, right?
Yeah.
I remember at first I had a draft, but still I feel like it's not convincing enough. And I talked with some mentor and someone just helped me kind of revamp the story. It just made it even more convincing. Of like why I like certain things in consulting but not so much, and why banking will help me to get the exposure I wanted. Just like crafting the story from different mentors' perspective is super helpful. And the technical part, I did 2 mock focusing on the technical part. They're pretty hard. They're like way harder than my real interview. So I feel like it's a very good preparation.
You were confident going in because you had already taken some really hard ones.
Yes.
So that's funny. Yeah. So we try to make it so it's pretty difficult to make sure you're all that stuff. So you build it, you study it, and you're ready to go. I'm curious, like, did you feel were you just applying like to other places online? Did you have any other interviews? Was it like as soon as you got into Morgan Stanley, you did the process, you got the offer, it was like obvious to accept? Or was that
I did 3. One is with a middle market. I only had a conversation with the HR. That's it.
Okay.
And that one was actually with the help with a mentor here. He connected my resume and some MD at another middle market bank. I did 3 interviews with them, but still didn't work out. And Morgan Stanley, I just applied online.
Yeah, that's amazing.
6 interviews.
Do you feel like you got better at, was Morgan Stanley the last one? Were you like most polished for them, do you feel like, than for the others?
I don't feel like the 6th is better than the 5th and the 4th, because like everybody is just different. They ask you different questions.
So tell me a little bit about just final kind of words of wisdom for, looking back, because you have a long winding journey of just getting to the front office. And so any kind of words of wisdom for other people, maybe in the similar situation where maybe they're in their consulting, or maybe they're in FP&A and they're looking to make that transition. Do you advise them to kind of make a half step first going to consulting? Do you say, hey, any advice specifically on that? Especially if they're post-masters, because a lot of people use the masters as a reset. You didn't have that option. So I'd be curious to hear like any specific advice for them.
In terms of which career path you want to get into, I think it just like, there's no such thing that one is better than the other. I think it's just suitability. For me, I feel I just like finance analytical more than project management or technology type of work. Like I have consulting friend who is passionate about that type of work, then that is a good career for her. It's just, I don't think it's about like prestige or whatever. It's like find what suits you. That's the most important. And another mark is for someone who want to get into banking. Like for me, I had this general idea for many years, but I never put in actual action. I always thought it's just too good for me. But just believe in yourself. And from my experience, like it turns out that, okay, FP&A and consulting, all this experience, it is helpful for banking. And there are like transferable skills that you can use from those experience to banking. So it's just dream big.
Don't think it's out of your reach. Keep trying,
exactly.
keep talking to people. And I think that's really important advice, because so many people, even some students that come into the academy, and I know it's going to be a longer transition to them. Maybe they've been they've graduated a long time ago and they're thinking to themselves, oh, this is only for sophomores. It's not just for sophomores in school. It's or people entering MBA. Yes, it's harder if you're kind of transitioning later, but it doesn't mean it can't happen. It just means that sometimes the path is a little bit longer and you have to be a little more non-traditional. You have to be a little more creative in terms of how you network and stuff like that. So
absolutely.
Really appreciate you coming on here to chat, Julie. Congratulations again. Super excited for you. And yeah, hopefully we'll be in touch.
Thank you.